Díaghuíomh agus fáilte to the cycling show. An show a léiríonn an action agus na daoine a chur leis an cabhaimseoir iontach seo. We're here in Meath, County Kildare at the Royal Canal Greenway. And a little later we'll have a look at the development of this and other similar amenities across the country.
Coming up, we've got action from the latest rounds of the mountain bike cross country and road national series, and we've been soaking up the atmosphere from National Bike Week 2022. We've travelled to Ghent in East Flanders to find out how Offaly's own Meagan Armitage is getting on in her bid for professional road racing stardom.
But first off, we tagged along with Ireland's top pro enduro rider, Callaghan, for a race in Scotland at what will be the venue for the first round of the Enduro World Series.
You've been a pro for a few years now. I mean, you've been sort of, I guess, on the enduro scene since 2011 and a pro the last 7 to 8 years. Where are you at in your career?
Yeah, I'm kind of one of the few riders that I think was at the first EWS, and I haven't missed too many since then. So it's cool to have seen how the sport has evolved, and I feel like I've evolved with it. And I'm enjoying it as much as I ever have. I'm as strong as I've ever been, and I feel like I'm riding as well as I've ever been. So for me, I'll continue for as long as I can, and once it's fun, I'll keep going, and at the moment it's as fun as ever.
What does it take to be a great enduro rider? Is it a little bit of downhill lunacy and skill and ability, and also the physical part? I mean, what's the percentage and what's involved?
That's it. Like enduro, that's kind of the beauty of it, is that it's quite a complex sport. One race it might be more physical based, and then another race it might be more technical based. I would say, in general, it's probably 60% technical, 40% physical. But you could be as technically good as you want, but if you're not strong enough to do it all day, repetitively, consistently, then it's a bit worthless. So you really need to be strong everywhere, because the sport is at such a high level at the moment that if you've any weakness, it will be highlighted and it will be exploited. So you need to be a really complete mountain bike rider.
It's a sport that's evolving as well, isn't it? And it seems to be probably the most popular form of mountain bike racing in Ireland at the moment. Why have the Irish embraced it so much, and how is the scene developing?
Yeah, the Irish scene is fantastic at the moment, and it has been for quite a few years now, and I think Ireland just really suits the format. We don't have the biggest hills for downhill maybe, but for enduro, we have the perfect size hill that you can pedal up, ride a trail back down, and then pedal up again, and kind of repeat different trails throughout the day, and that's what enduro is. So I think a lot of people just go out for the weekend mountain bike ride and they're doing enduro without really meaning to. And for me, I rode enduro for a long time before the racing was even a thing. So yeah, I think we're quite well set up with it, and we've so many great trails available as well that suit that. It
seems to be sort of the element of the sport that embraces the adventure of mountain bike racing. I mean, the word adventure seems to be most applicable.
Yeah, absolutely. Like my bike has taken me to some incredible places throughout Ireland and throughout the world, and an enduro bike is the perfect bike that you can take it to the top of any hill really and ride it back down, whereas not all bikes are capable of that. So it's a real do-it-all kind of sport.
And how has your has your riding changed? Have you had to change and adapt the way that you perform at the events as the events themselves have changed?
Yeah, absolutely. And the bikes have changed as well, whereas when I started out, the bikes were a lot less capable of what we were doing, so you really had to ride on the limit of the bike, whereas the bikes have gotten better and better, and now the limits are getting further and further. So it's almost hard to ride to the limit of a modern bike because they're so capable. And with that as well, the sport has gotten faster, and trails that used to be technical with the bike so good now, it's a little less technical. So yeah, things are getting faster, margins are getting smaller, so you really have to push harder and harder.
Yeah, and it's a family sport as well. I mean, you're telling me that you get to compete with your dad on occasion, or he competes in the same events. I mean, that must be a buzz.
Yeah, that's it. We're racing on a world level, and there's professionals there from all over the world, but then at the same event, my dad, who's 60 this year, he's racing the exact same course, so he can compare himself to us, and that's the beauty of it, I think, as well. Like, there's 600 riders out competing at a world level event, so it's a great experience for everyone.
And when do we get another EWS round back in Ireland? Is that something that could happen?
I hope so. I'm talking nicely to Niall Davis that hopefully he'll bring it back, because it was incredible the 3 years that it was there, and I think if it came back it'd be bigger than ever. So
and your 2 wins remain the pinnacle of I guess Irish achievement in mountain biking in the world.
That's it. It's to have the opportunity to race at home on that level is a privilege, but then to have won it twice as well is just a feeling that I think would be impossible to match. So yeah, I'd love to get another go at it.
And you're still living at home, of course. You haven't decided to repair to Italy or France or any of the exotic locations. You still like living at home?
Yeah, I love it. Like I'm living in the foothills of Dublin Mountains, and you know I can ride from my door, and on my doorstep I've got, in my opinion, some of the best trails in the world, and we've got a huge variety of trails, and even all over Ireland now the facilities that we have are incredible. Like no matter where you live in Ireland, there's mountain bike trails very close to you. So yeah, I think it's brilliant. And home is home, you know, like I've travelled all over the world and there are places that you like, but whenever I come home it just trumps it, and I can't see myself anywhere else, to be honest.
From one type of mountain bike racing to another, Caoimhe May and Darnell Moore were the early leaders in the cross-country national series. Round 2 took the competitors to Killarney, County Kerry.
A field of over 150 riders in the second round of the Mountain Bike Cross Country National Series enjoyed sunny weather at the popular Killarney Youth Hostel venue in County Kerry. Killarney Cycling Club pulled out all the stops to host a popular first major promotion on the course in 8 years. Round 1 winner Caoimhe May was back to reassert her dominance over the field, and the Allwell Wheelers rider wasted little time in opening up an advantage, crossing the line at the end of the first of 4 laps, 36 seconds clear of Joanna Bula, with Niamh McKivergan almost a full further minute behind. Bula paired 5 seconds from the leader's advantage on lap 2, but May added a further 19 seconds on the penultimate tour. Bula recorded a faster final lap, but May had plenty in hand to take a victory by 38 seconds and a commanding lead in the point standings.
It was just hard from the word go, and I just sort of had to try and get a gap at the start and keep it the whole way through, and I managed to do that, so I was very happy.
So May makes it 2 from 2. Bula and McKivergan rounded out the podium with Leah McCarthy and Stephanie Roach next up. In the men's event, cyclocross national champion and road racing star Chris McGlinchey returned to his mountain biking roots, and the Spectra Wiggle presented by Vitus rider soon raced clear. Round 1 runner-up Gareth McKee again found himself playing catch-up, and the Cyclology racing team rider was already 46 seconds down at the end of lap 1. McGlinchey was in irrepressible form and was the fastest rider in all 7 of the laps, increasing his advantage throughout until it stood at 2 minutes and 40 seconds by the time the Belfast rider had completed the race. McKee's second runner-up place in succession came at the expense of Colin Mullen of Team WORC.
Yeah, it was just hard from the go. I didn't really have a plan. I just went out hard and managed to get a gap early on and just pressed on. The course the guys have put on was incredible. It was really technical, nice, slow and natural trails. So yeah, I really enjoyed it today.
So McGlinchey is off the mark in the cross-country national series. Lee Clark was 4th ahead of Paul MacArthur and Chris Oakley. Next up in the National Series calendar is Union Wood on Sunday 5th of June to be hosted by Northwest Mountain Bike Club. Well, these beautiful surroundings of the Royal Canal Greenway are one of 6 similar trails for the exclusive use of cyclists, pedestrians and other non-motorised transport around the country. It's a fast expanding network and one of the great recent infrastructure success stories, as we've been finding out.
The Royal Canal Greenway is around 225 years old. Waterways Ireland is responsible for the Royal Canal Greenway, but we've been working with partners over the last number of years to develop a greenway, so a shared use trail along the route of the Royal Canal. We were nominated in the Fates and Vandalbeurs Awards for this year, so that is a cycling magazine, cycling and walking magazine from the Netherlands. We were just delighted when it was announced that Royal Canal Greenway had won the award.
Sport Ireland, an organisation that encourage outdoor activity and sport and physical recreation. And one of the things that help to do that, of course, are greenways. And so in that context, we support the whole development of greenways to get people in the outdoors and active. Greenways are suitable for just about everybody, from small kids up to grandparents and then people with disabilities and so on. So they do facilitate almost all sectors of the population being active, which is a huge benefit.
So we've been funding Greenways since 2014, and at that stage we were only in a position to fund 3 Greenways. Since then, back in 2019, we were able to get funding for the construction of 9 Greenways, and now we're in a position with 60 million per annum from the government to fund 40 Greenways. So there's Greenways being built all around the country, and there's planning and development for greenways as well. So they are appearing in all corners of the country, which is something we're really pleased about, because that was one of the targets we set ourselves in the Greenway strategy that was published back in 2018. Huge numbers. We've seen huge numbers on the Royal Canal Greenway. We saw 300,000 people using the Waterford Greenway when that first opened. So we know that they're successful once they're opened. It's getting them through the planning process can sometimes be challenging.
When the counters first started back in 2013, we had just under 50,000. It'd be 280,000 last year, probably more coming through, and even COVID and the benefits from that perspective. But the beauty of this Greenway is it's, you know, from your 3-year-olds to your 93-year-olds that can travel. And safety is a huge issue, but people feel comfortable. But this Greenway allows you to look into the heart and soul of Waterford. Like, you've got the mountains, you've got the ocean, you've got the views, and it's just spectacular. So people getting out and being physically active, but stopping off and with your coffee shops, with the little businesses and everything else that are going there. So it's been massive for Dungarvan, for our tourism, and massive for Waterford in general. And it's a real jewel in our crown, I suppose.
Well, we want everybody to be able to access a greenway. We want greenways to be accessible so that they're usable by people in wheelchairs, people pushing their children in buggies, people cycling and people walking. They're for everybody. And we want them all around the country as well. And we're in the next few years, it's going to take some time to get those 40 greenways constructed, but they will be constructed in the next 5, 6, 7 years. So we'll have them for everybody, really.
Nach ítach an áisiad na ballyglas atá mar himpeall na tíre. Sin é le haid cud a hain. Be with us after the break, where we talk to one of Ireland's emerging road stars and dip into some of the great events that took place during Bike Week across the country. We're back on our bikes after the break. Fáilte arás go glasbhealach na Canal Riga. Declan travelled to Ghent in Belgium to meet Meath Armitage, a woman who's making a name for herself on the international scene after only 2 full years of road racing.
We're in Ghent, we're in the centre of the cycling world. I suppose it's obvious why you've come here, but tell us a little bit about your journey to this point.
So started cycling maybe not even 2 years ago. This time last year hadn't even been to Belgium, still at home doing my final year exams.
Why road race cycling? I mean, you kind of discovered it like a flash 2 years ago, and suddenly you're
I wish I'd
full-time
started
bike
it when I was younger, but I was just kind of the typical, I used to run, got injured, couldn't run, couldn't do my race, and was all sad. So my friend said, okay, let's go to the Pyrenees for a cycling holiday. And I was like hooked instantly. I just was like, oh, this is so cool, this is class, and never stopped. And I just kind of, kept going from there.
Cycling, well, road race cycling, it's not just about athletics, is it? It's
exactly. Like, they always talk about like your age on the bike, and like mine is like 1.5, whereas like there's girls like here, for example, that have been racing since they could walk. So like there's a huge learning curve, and like last year I think the fact that I was super naive kind of played in my favour, because I didn't know like where the ceiling was. I didn't know my level in comparison to everyone else, so I kind of just threw myself in and was kind of just like, yeah, I can be here, I can do this, I can do that, which was great. But then you kind of get to learn, like especially when you get to do those bigger races like Europeans and Worlds, you're like, oh, I actually have a lot of learning to do, like but it's good. And then this year, like knowing where you sit and where you have to get to has been brilliant, because I know where I want to get to and what I have to do in order to get there.
And you got to wear the green jersey of Ireland on a few occasions last year. That must have been a big blast. Yeah,
like wasn't expecting it at all. Like my only goal last year was just to come out and learn and make loads of mistakes and hopefully be a better bike rider at the end of it. So yeah, when I was asked to race in Cresbrez, that was my first UCI race, and it was just like incredible. It was so good, and I learned so much.
What do you have to do? I mean, that is something I'm dying to ask. What does it take to be a full-time pro bike rider in the World Tour peloton?
There's so many aspects of racing your bike that are not just training. So training is like a huge proportion of it. Like you obviously have to be like at the pointy end of the race, so you need to be fit and you need to train. But it's the positioning and like being there for that one key moment during a race where everyone's just fighting for position, and if you're not there, then you're not going to make the split and you're not going to get a result. So yeah, there's so many different aspects of it. Like there's the tactic side. Sometimes it's just like plain luck. Like, you just have to be lucky, you have to be in the right place at the right time, you have to be, you know, positioned well, moving into gaps. It's like a washing machine in the peloton. Like, you know, you're at the front for a second, and then suddenly, like 2 seconds later, you can find yourself at the back. So you're just constantly trying to move forward. And like, it's a non-contact sport, but like, it's contact. Like, people are elbowing you, and like, there's like the language that is in the, like, that comes out of some people sometimes is terrible. But yeah, it is, like, it's really, really aggressive during the races, especially like at the higher level, and even in the kermesses, like, it's really aggressive as well. But there's just so many aspects that go into winning a bike race, getting a good result, and working as a team as well. Like, people forget that cycling is a team sport. Like, if you don't have your teammates helping you, then yeah, you're at nothing really. It's really hard. So like, the races that we've been doing so far this year have been like the really, really big classics race. I haven't done any of them. I haven't raced at this level before. This is my first season racing like proper big UCI races with World Tour teams. Last year I was only doing kermesses, so it's a huge step up. So I'm always given the opportunity to get a result in my team. But I know this season I have it in me to get good results. I just need to learn and, yeah, I guess be patient and just keep working hard.
We're off to Naval in County Meath to sample the best of the action from the women's and men's races in the latest round of the National Road Series.
Round 3 of the Road National Series brought Ireland's best road racers to Dunshaughlin in County Meath for the Navan Road Club promotion. Series leader Caoimhe O'Brien was racing abroad, leaving the way clear for the biggest field of the season to aim for victory in the women's race for the Ross na Mí Trophy. Following their 1-2 finish in the previous week's Galway Classic, all eyes were on Paralympic and Olympic medalists Eve McChrystal and Annalise Murphy, while ace sprinters Aoife O'Brien and Erin Grace Crichton eyed success on a relatively flat course. A stiff breeze on the first of 2 long drags on the course offered an opportunity to split the field early on, and Eve McChrystal of Berlurgan Wheelers was keen to assert her authority over the group. The former national road and time trial champion was joined by sailing star Murphy, Gabriella Gludenite of UCD, Gemma Spears of North Down Cycling Club, Linda Kelly from Spin the Bean powered by Coffee, Erin Grace Crichton of McConvey Cycles, and the Torelli Cayman Islands scimitar pairing of Aoife O'Brien and Orla Walsh. This octet worked well to open a significant advantage over the main bunch throughout the 85-kilometre race, and as the event approached the final 25 kilometres, it seemed certain the winner would come from the early selection. McChrystal tried repeatedly and finally cracked the resolve of her opponents and settled into time trial mode for the final shorter 16-kilometre lap. Behind, the group tried to get organised, but the windy conditions and McChrystal's display of class meant they were fighting a rearguard action. In the end, McChrystal had almost a minute in hand over the chasers, led in by ace junior Aoife O'Brien, with Gabriella Gludenite emulating O'Brien and taking her first National Series podium.
Yeah, I think it was a big bunch, bigger than usual for National League. It was great to see. On the first climb, it was kind of a short, sharp climb. I just went for it, and then at the top I looked around me and there was 6 or 7 of us, and we rode really well together. Everybody just pushed on. There was 2 juniors in the race with us in the break, which I just thought was great. A mix of abilities. Everybody took their turn. I tried to get away a few times. I just didn't trust my sprints there with the likes of Erin Crichton and Aoife O'Brien. So I said I'll try and get away. Tried a few times. Didn't work, and then the last time I just got away, I think, on the back end of the course and had the nice tailwind coming in, and then I felt good today.
So, first National Series win of the season for McChrystal. Gemma Spears hung on for 4th ahead of Annalise Murphy, with Linda Kelly 6th. In the men's race for the Sean Nolan Memorial Trophy, series leader Matt Teggart was aiming for a hat-trick, having raised his arms aloft at the end of the first 2 rounds. The 140-kilometre race on the mainly flat circuit included 2 long drags, the first of which was deceptively challenging, given the stiff tailwind to assist the stronger riders to break the elastic. After chasing the race for much of round 2, Teggart joined the early move this time round in the company of Luke Smith of Moynalty Cycling Club, Tim O'Regan All Human Velo Revolution, the Spellman Dublin Port duo of Dean Harvey and David Montgomery, Sean Mullen from Richards Trek, Paul Antoine Hagan of Banbridge Cycling Club, Darnell Moore from Team Caldwell, and injury returnee Kevin McCambridge of Trinity Racing. Despite a valiant chase from the UCD team among others, it was soon clear the winner would come from this group. On the final lap, the group split in two as Taggart, Montgomery, Smith and Moore pressed on. After working to establish a winning lead, the four jockeyed for position in the closing kilometres. Into the final 200 metres, Taggart jumped first, with Luke Smith not quite able to fend off the surge and Darnell Moore just behind in third.
Yeah, 3 for 3, so can't complain. Dead happy with that. It was quite a tough day. Didn't know what to expect. I didn't know this circuit, but there was a big tailwind around that draggy bit, first lap. It was that group of like 8 or 9 in the end. And once we got a wee gap, we rode good and honest until the last 3k there, and the tailwind, we knew it was between us four. So again, a bit of cat and mouse, but everyone held their nerve and came down to a sprint. So thankfully, I had the legs in the sprint.
So Taggart continues his unbeaten run. Paul-Antoine Hagan got up for 5th ahead of local star Tim O'Regan. Finally this month, National Bike Week was a resounding success, with events up and down the country introducing riders young and old to the variety and the pleasures that a life on two wheels can offer. Let's get a look at what went on.
Really, Bike Week is a celebration and a promotion of cycling. It's an annual event. It's an initiative of the Department of Transport in collaboration with the local authorities, councils, the local sports partnerships, Antashka, the Green Schools, who do great work in the schools all year round, and of course Cycling Ireland to promote cycling all year round. You know, each year we're hoping to build on Bike Week, so we're hoping that this will be the best Bike Week ever, but that next year in 2023 we'll have an even better Bike Week.
It's a celebration of all things bike across a number of disciplines, a number of age groups and activities, and really it's a celebration of everything that's possible on a bike, that it's an opportunity for people to try new things. So from BMX to off-road to riding a community bike ride on a greenway, there is a biking opportunity for everybody. So we're showcasing those, and we hope that some of the things that people try and learn are out there during Bike Week may become their participation habits going forward with our clubs and our programs.
So we're running 4 different types of events. We're Track Fest, BMX Fest, Mountain Bike Fest, a family festival in Kilkenny and a road cycling festival in Kilkenny. Our needs from Bike Week would be to get cycling out there, to get people on bikes that maybe haven't had the opportunity, you know, so that people can love the sport as much as the rest of us.
Cycling Ireland worked with local clubs and sports partnerships to deliver more focused skills training, starting with the outdoor velodrome in Dublin, where the Sundrive track team ran a series of taster sessions for aspiring fixed-wheel racers. BMX Courtown also opened up their track for skills sessions for all ages, with a youth session appealing to young locals and visiting holidaymakers alike. The Glencullen Adventure Park, otherwise known as The Gap, put on a fun-free family day with skills demonstrations and activities for cyclists of all ages and abilities, including free uplifts, bike rental and training with top-class coaches, all accompanied by a pumping soundtrack provided by DJ Mark McCabe. The week finished with a family festival in partnership with Kilkenny County Council. On the day there were numerous cycling activities for all ages, including a balance bike zone, grass track racing, an off-road zone, sprocket rocket and a family cycle, to name just a few.
Ivana Intach August Inspiradach and Shin.
Well, that's it for this month. We'll have another packed episode for you next month, including action from the National Road Championships.
The Sirag Gurvanchev Sultas and Show, Slán go fóill.